Hi, this is Vic Sohal, and I'm going to show you a few points about mixing keyed and simulated movement in Maya with DMM. So we're going to start off first by selecting a DMM cube. We're going to create a simple cube here, and I'm going to move this to the edge of the grid, like so. I'm going to increase the number of frames to 200 so we can see what's going on. We're going to focus really on kind of the first 40 frames. So I'm going to decrease this here. All right, so now next I'm going to bring up the channel box, and we're going to look at the attributes for this object. So a DMM object, in this case, it has DMM passive turned off. And what DMM passive does is it tells DMM to simulate the object or not. When passive is off, it's going to think it needs to simulate it. So what we want to do is we want to turn that on to make sure that it does not simulate it, because we're going to be doing some mixture of keyed and simulated movement. Alright, so I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to say key selected. Alright, so we got a key at frame 1. Okay, now I'm going to go over to frame 40, and I'm going to move this to about the middle, and I'm going to make another key, and I'm going to turn this off. So now what that means is at this point DMM is going to think, okay, well, I need to start simulating again. We'll do that. Alright, so now when I hit play, you see the object moves across kinematically, and then over here it does something kind of strange. It just sort of stops and slows down and drops, which is kind of odd looking, because you really expect this to kind of fly in an arc. When you hand it off to the simulation, you want it to take over. And we're going to examine why that happens. That's the reason for this tutorial. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the graph, hypergraph here, and we're going to take a look at this object. So we're translating Z here, so let's look at the Z curve. Okay, so here you see what's happening. This is actually a curve, and the normal thing that Maya does is it creates an automatic series of it tries to slow the thing down as it gets to the end points, the set points you might call them, or the key points. So that's a problem, because what DMM does is it looks at the last 2 frames, and if it sees that, and it uses those to determine the velocity. So what's happening is that this thing is slowing down as it gets to its final set point. And when it does that, DMM is looking at the last 2 points and it's saying, oh, well, it's not moving very fast, so I'm just going to set the velocity to be something slow. Okay, so now we understand that. Let's see if we can change that. So I'm going to change this to linear, like that. And so now you see the line's nice and straight. And if I hit play, you see the thing the object falls like we expect. Nice parabolic arc. All right, now now we understand that. Let's take a look at what would happen if we were to change these things to stepped. So I'm going to change this thing to stepped, and I'm going to hit play. All right, well, this is kind of fast. I'm going to just stop this and show you with a full frame. The object is just shooting across the screen. And then this is pretty much in line with the kind of behavior we expect, because what we're saying is, okay, the last 2 frames are, I'm over here, and that's the last position it has, and then on frame 40, I'm suddenly all the way halfway across the grid, and so it's looking at those 2 positions, and it's saying, okay, well, he's moving pretty fast because he covered half the grid in 1 frame, so I'm going to set the velocity to be that. And so that's why it looked like it's moving really fast. When you do things like that, you want to increase the number of substeps. You generally don't want things moving so fast that they pass through other objects, because their step sizes takes it through an object in 1 frame. And also from a simulation standpoint, we do things to deal with that, but you have to increase the number of substeps to make that effective too. All right, so now let's try another experiment. Let's set this to step next. Okay. Now if I hit play now, what happens? Well, it moves across in 1 frame, but its position for the last 2 frames it hasn't moved. And so DMM takes over the simulation and says, oh, well, he's not moved, and so I'm just going to start simulating with a 0 velocity. And at that point, gravity takes over and the object falls. Okay, well, hopefully this gives you an idea of how this works, and I hope it gives you some insight into the behavior of DMM in a mixed simulation animation environment. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on a future tutorial.